Hi guys, this is the Casual Fan. Lewis Hamilton, arguably one of the most polarizing names in Formula 1. He has some of the biggest following any F1 driver has ever had. He also has some of the biggest haters in Formula 1 as well. Despite all of that, the man that made his debut in a McLaren in 2007 is still racing in Formula 1. He's closer to 40 than 30, but even then, he's not let himself get slowed down in any which way. He started racing in Formula 1 in 2007 and quickly jumped right to the top. It's been 16 years now and he's still there. In this video, my aim is quite simple. What I'm trying to do is prove that if you are a fan of Formula 1, then you should be a fan of Lewis Hamilton as well. Now let me clarify what I mean by being a Lewis Hamilton fan. I'm not talking about the ones that are still outraged about what happened in Abu Dhabi in 2021. Neither am I talking about the ones that resort to online abuse or social media hatred against Max Verstappen or Red Bull or anyone else in the grid that crosses paths with Lewis. In my view, those are not fans, they're fanatics, and if I'm honest, they deserve their place in the sport as well. Lewis has been able to impact their lives in such a significant way that they will resort to anything to defend him. Having said that, when I'm talking about being a Lewis Hamilton fan, my focus is on having the objectivity to understand that what Hamilton has achieved in Formula 1 is rare. I don't expect you or ask you to cheer for Lewis when he races. That's not the aim. I don't expect you to replace your favorite driver with Lewis either. The aim is to remove the hate and have at least a foundational level of respect for what Lewis has achieved in Formula 1. In my view, again, this is only subjective. Every Formula 1 fan who knows the sport and the challenges that come with it should be a Lewis Hamilton fan. Now, with the basic premise out of the way, let's take a look at why every F1 fan should be a Lewis Hamilton fan. Well, first of all, let's take a look at a few records under Hamilton's name. Most titles by an F1 driver, most wins, most podiums, most pole positions, most career points, longest point scoring streak. These are the records of an all-time great. Now, there have been suggestions by many fans that a lot of these records were achieved because he had a superior car under him. In all fairness, it's not a wrong assessment. If Lewis was driving a backmarker, he would not have achieved these results. Having said that, in a career that spans over 15 years, Hamilton has driven for two teams, McLaren and Mercedes. During his stay, both of these teams were frontrunners. McLaren was a frontrunner in 2007 when Lewis joined the team, and Mercedes surged to the front in 2013 when Lewis moved from McLaren to Mercedes. Now, could there be an element of luck involved in all of this? Sure, in every sport, luck plays a part. However, not many drivers can boast of starting their careers in a championship-winning team. Ron Dennis saw something in Hamilton that he gave him a seat with the team in 2007. Similarly, Niki Lauda and Ross Brawn saw something in Lewis that he was approached by Mercedes to replace Michael Schumacher. More importantly, it was Lewis who took the plunge in 2012 to join Mercedes when the team was not even a frontrunner. He took the risk and he deserved to reap the rewards as well. Let's take a look at the landscape of Formula 1 when Lewis made his debut in 2007. Michael Schumacher had just retired from the sport. Fernando Alonso was the benchmark on the grid. He had just beaten Michael Schumacher fair and square in 2006 and was now the two-time world champion. Coincidentally, Fernando Alonso was also going to be the teammate for Lewis Hamilton at McLaren. In just his rookie season, Hamilton was going to be teamed up with the reigning two-time world champion. For any young driver, this should be a daunting task. The expectation should be that the young driver plays the role of a supporting cast to the world champion. Well, this was not what happened. From the very first race of the 2007 season, Lewis was more or less performing on the same level as Fernando. Lewis managed to win 4 races in his first ever F1 season and almost won the title. To this day, there hasn't been a better rookie season by a Formula 1 driver. As soon as Lewis stepped on to the big stage, he was ready to fight at the front. This is something that we just don't see in Formula 1. This kind of talent, this kind of preparedness is rare and makes Lewis a rare talent as well. Now, when one looks back at Lewis Hamilton's career, there are far too many races where he just took the performance to a whole another level. One race that has personally stood out for me is what Lewis did at the 2020 Turkish Grand Prix. The race and the conditions in Turkey meant that this was going to be one of those races where Mercedes was not the frontrunner. Despite that, Lewis produced a masterclass. Under those gloomy conditions, Lewis did the entire race on an unprecedented one set of tires. If there was any race that proved Lewis Hamilton was not just a driver that benefited from a fast car, then it was this race. In that particular race, Lewis showed patience, he showed race awareness, and he showed why he is considered one of the greatest F1 drivers in the history of the sport. Now, when we talk about some of his greatest drives, the race in Turkey is just one of them. The race in Singapore in 2018 is another one where Lewis just flipped the form book on its head. And of course, who can forget the 2018 German Grand Prix where Lewis came through the field and won the race, while Vettel, his championship rival, slid into the gravel and crashed out. These races and so many others are just examples of pure racing excellence and proof that the driver is just truly brilliant in a Formula 1 car. Finally, something that everyone takes lightly these days is the struggle behind Hamilton's rise to Formula 1. He is the first black driver in Formula 1, and in an interview last year he shared some anecdotes as a child where he was a victim of racism. Now, first of all, let's admit one thing. Formula 1 is still a very exclusive club. For anyone to make it, they need a lot of resources, dedication, sacrifice, and of course luck. Being a black kid climbing through the ranks in a sport where he will stick out like a sore thumb was never going to be easy. Even in the present day and age, we still don't have many drivers of color making it to Formula 1. Just imagine what the situation would have been in the early 2000s when Lewis was making his way through the junior categories. The fact that he was able to overcome all of that and still make it to F1 is an achievement. The fact that he's stuck around and become the most successful driver in Formula 1 history is the best he could have done with the opportunity provided to him. Lewis is now an inspiration for so many kids across the globe. He's broken barriers and shown that anything is possible. For a black kid coming from a less than privileged background, Lewis has paved the way for a diverse generation of drivers to enter the sport and make it big. Now finally, as a parting note, when I talk about Lewis, I talk about the most successful driver in the history of the sport. I talk about the driver that has the best rookie season for a driver in F1. I talk about a driver that has proven time and again that he is an elite talent. And I talk about a driver that has broken boundaries and showed what is possible irrespective of where you come from. How can anyone not respect what he has done? How can anyone that is a fan of Formula 1 not be a fan of this man? Now, I'm not saying that he does not have his faults. And I'm also not saying that he's the best driver on the grid or he's the greatest of all time. What I'm simply saying is that if we take a look at what Lewis has achieved in Formula 1, it's hard not to respect that. And it's even harder not to be a fan of the guy. That is why I said right at the beginning, every Formula 1 fan should be a Lewis Hamilton fan. So these are my views. What do you guys think? Do let me know in the comment section. I hope you guys liked the video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.